News Radio, the voice of vaping. In each show, we share the latest about regulations and things you need to know, plus upcoming conferences and fests, along with interviews with the movers and shakers in this fabulous vape space. Are you looking to get into this ever-expanding marketplace? Do you want to master this industry? Listen up as Norm Bauer, the Vape Mentor, shares it all. And here's your host, Norm Bauer.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Vape News Radio, the voice of vaping. I am your eminent host, Norm Bauer. This is show number 13. In this case, 13 is not an unlucky number. 13 is a very lucky number. Lucky for you and certainly lucky for me, because by the time you're hearing this, it's almost Thanksgiving. And you know what? I have a lot to be thankful for, and I'm sure that you do as well. So if you are brand new to the show, welcome, and thank you for obviously downloading our show. We have just hit a milestone. Paul, we just hit 180,000 downloads.
Say that number again.
We did 180,000 downloads, and we're averaging around 35 to 36,000 downloads a month.
Woo.
And I put together a chart of all the demographics, and we are located in somewhere between 20 and 25 countries. I'll have to go ahead and review that. But for those of you out there in the world of vaping, thank you for being a fan. Thank you for being a follower. And if you would, if you are listening on iTunes or Stitcher, please do us a favor. Go back and give us some rating. Give us a little bit of that love, because we give you a lot of love, too.
Well, and I tell you, really, if you're in this industry and you want to expand the conversation, this is a powerful way to do it, because the best we can find, this is the only real conversation about the business of vaping that I'm aware of. It's certainly sponsored by the industry magazine, and we've discovered that if a few people will take the time to review this show on iTunes, it goes way, way up. I mean, 10, 20 people do it, and you suddenly move into the top 50 recommended show. So it takes very little effort to even catapult this conversation higher. And as the people try and grow this industry and grow this conversation, this is a powerful way to do that.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, for those of you who heard that, that's my Christmas gift from you to me.
Yes,
do me a favor, give me some of that love, and just go over to iTunes or go over to Stitcher and give me some of your love. All right, so let's get into some meat of the matter. And so, again, for those of you who are new, welcome to the show. It's basically comprised of 3 sections. The first one is me kind of giving you an overview of what's going on in the vaping industry. Section number 2, section number 3 are interviews with what I consider to be movers and shakers of the industry, and I'm going to give you a little heads up. For those of you who are interested in R.J. Reynolds Vapors, they're going to be interviewed in section number 2. They pissed a lot of people off because they were dissing the vaping industry. Mm-hmm. They basically were saying, we do not approve of the open tank system. We only want the closed tank system. So I had an interview with them, and I called them out, and I said, you know what, guys, I hate to talk about the elephant in the room, but you guys did this, and you really made a lot of people very angry.
Yeah.
And you know what? They talked about it, and you'll have to hear my comments, because you know what? They had some very, very good points, but I think that we kind of had a mutual agree to disagree type of perspective. And then segment number 3 is a little different. It's a little bit interesting. As I've shared before, I've been an entrepreneur for about 4 decades now, and I like supporting the vaping industry because it is highly entrepreneurial, and there's lots and lots and lots of wonderful opportunities out there. So section number 3 is a guy from Georgia who is ready to crush it. He's not crushing it there, but he is well on the right track as far as crushing it in the vaping industry with a brand new model for franchising called Vapor Outlet. But meanwhile, let's go ahead and get into the meat of the matter for section number 1. All right, so I'm going to cover the more mundane stuff for a moment, and mostly it's about conventions and conferences. In the last month or so, I can't say I'm burnout, but I kind of got a little bit burnout. I was over in Phoenix at Vape Dynasty, and I had a beautiful occasion to speak over there on the vaping industry. I did not get a chance to go to Vapor Summit in Houston, just too many things going on, but there's going to be another event coming up in just a few weeks called Vape Nights. So for those of you who are in Southern California, this is a B2B only. It's going to be on the 23rd of November, which is a Sunday. It's going to be at the Santa Anita Racetrack. So if you are in Southern California and if you are in the industry, go ahead and register at vapenights.com or just go ahead and give me a call. Also wanted to talk about some interesting things that Enjoy is coming out with. That's N-O-Y. I've mentioned them before. These guys are not big tobacco, and they are absolutely proud of that. They don't want to be and don't want to be considered big tobacco. They are privately owned, and what they do is they have made electronic cigarettes, and they're not the number 1 player, but they're usually number 2 or number 3. And what they've done is they've created an artist series. The artist series is comprised of 5 very unique, very distinctive flavors that have specifically been created for the Artist Series by people from all over the world that are known as being wonderful vapor creators. And so you're going to see the Enjoy Artist Series out there in a little while. And you know what? I asked for them to give me some samples that I can give out to you. And that's going to be my Christmas gift to you in exchange for rating us on iTunes or Stitcher. And I should have those by the time we do our next show. They aren't on the street yet,
hey,
but they will
that's
be.
A heck of an idea. Could you identify? We could find out who gives your review, and for everybody that gives a review, they get a free something.
You know what? I absolutely could do that because I have a stockpile of juice that is at my house that I'd be, I don't want to do that. And I'll tell you why. That seems like bribery. Not that I'm opposed to bribery. I'm not opposed to bribery, and I'm not immune to being bribed. But guys, look, I want you to rate us because you like us, because you think that the show has value and merit, and that's really why I want you to rate us. But if you do rate us, and if you do send us an email and tell me that you rated us, then maybe I'll go ahead.
You might be open to a little thank you gift.
Might give you
a little love gift.
Give you some of that something back here. Okay, so let's talk about the year in review. And I know it seems weird because the end of the year seems like it's a long way off.
It's a long way off.
Yeah, it's all of about 50 days, guys. So,
That's a long way.
Today's the middle of November, and by the time you hear this, again, it's going to be probably close to or after Thanksgiving, or you might be listening in the month of December. But I wrote a review on, what this year is all about. I'm going to call it the year in review. And what we've seen and what we will see is really what's going on. And you're going to see more shops opening. You're going to see more shops closing. The space is getting crowded. It's getting congested, and some of the weaker players are falling by the wayside. But what's really, really been noteworthy is we are seeing a huge, huge increase in the number of e-liquid manufacturers. When I went to the last workshops, or the last two workshops, I would say 80% of all the vendors were all e-liquid companies. That kind of prompted a discussion I had with my partner, Maria Vervin, and so we are actually writing a book called Masters of Vape. Masters of Vape is the story of those who are crushing it, and what we've done is we've identified the top 7 players in the vaping industry. Some names you might know, some names you might not know. And what we're doing is that we're sharing their stories because they all have unbelievable stories. These guys came from nowhere, and they created multi-million-dollar businesses, and so we're calling them the new multi-millionaires. So look for Masters of Vape. We're going to be launching that towards the very tail end of December, and it'll be available for you.
Is that like Masters of the Universe?
Kind of like Masters of the Universe, only without all the sci-fi. Okay. And speaking of books, Vapepreneur is done. This is the book I've been working on for quite some time. We very generously sent out several hundred copies via ebook during the month of September and October, but the book is now on Amazon. So if you go to Amazon and type in Vapepreneur or vaping, or type in my name, Norm Bauer, B-O-U-R, you'll be able to see it there. Or if you want to get one from us directly, we'll make it worth your while to do that. We'll send you out something special with it as well. And then we're also offering a 45-minute phone consultation in addition to the book if you're interested in doing that. So again, if you want to know about the vaping industry, this is all about where vaping has been, where it is, but more importantly, where it's going. And it's also very much a hands-on takeaway in regards to you and the vaping industry, where you fit in, or if you fit in, and how you fit in. So that's the book Vapepreneur. I'm looking for interviews with vape shop owners to talk to. And here's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for the really awesome stores out there, and ideally I want to find out who is the biggest store out there, because someone asked me, matter of fact, I think it was you, Paul, you asked me how big is the biggest store at the last show.
Right.
And I've never seen anything. The largest one I've seen is 3,000 square feet, but it wasn't being utilized. So if any of you out there know a shop that is bigger than, say, 2,500 or 3,000 square feet, that it's being used as a vaping store, then absolutely I want you to give me a call or get a hold of us through the radio show, and I want to go ahead and interview these people to find out, how they're doing and why they're doing.
For example, when I was in the billiard industry at its height back in the 80s and 90s, when everybody was buying pool tables and stuff here, and they kind of there was a coalition between the billiard industry and the hot tub industry, as crazy as that sounds. Big toy outside, big toy inside, and they started having these superstores. And what had traditionally been 3 to 5, let's say a 5,000 square foot billiard store or a 3 to 5,000 square foot hot tub store, suddenly started turning into 50,000, 60,000. There was some that closing in on 100,000 square feet. That's like a giant supermarket or a Target.
Yeah. So
you never know where this stuff could go. And that's why I'm curious if it'll ever go to that range, or if these are just by definition small inline, retail spaces, a couple thousand feet.
The only time you'll see that is when, matter of fact, funny that you put it in those terms, because I had a conversation with a woman last week who is looking to create a lounge environment, but a lounge on steroids. If you look at a lot of nightclubs out there, they certainly can be very, very large in square footage.
Absolutely.
So you are going to see lounges that are combined with vaping and vape store sales, but I haven't seen it in place yet. As a matter of fact, I hope to be working with her to maybe launch the very first one. Okay.
Wow. Okay. You heard it here first.
You heard it here first. So back on to my subjects. I got like a whole list of different things, and I know I have a tendency to talk fast. I want to bring up the question.
And you throw these out so casually. Like, we're going to open the biggest store, and we're going to do this. And it's a $1 billion industry. Sold it. And people are like, what? What did you just say? We just got 100,000 downloads. Like, this is no big deal. Folks, most podcasts are lucky if they get 1,000 downloads a month here. We produce lots of shows here. They don't all get those kind of numbers Norm's talking about here. So put your hand on your back here. You guys are onto a conversation here.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate that. Well, I'm looking for 50,000 plus downloads a month after the first of the year, and the way we're growing, I think that'll be there. I want to bring up the question of what is organic juice, because this is one of those very highly controversial questions, and there's some people out there that claim to have organic juice, and the challenge has been nicotine. So I'll educate you at the same time, Paul. You can get organic flavoring. You can get organic VG, which is VG, which is vegetable glycol, which is one of the components.
Now, let me stop you for a second, though, because we've done lots of shows on this whole nation of organic.
Yeah.
And not everybody's organic definition is the same as somebody else's. There are products that people argue are being sold in stores, food products that are really not organic, that have an organic label on them. So define how organic does organic have to be, and who certifies it? That's the question.
The USDA.
Okay.
The U.S. Department of Agriculture is the big bad boy that has to certify you, and there's no one that has been able to certify a vaping e-liquid that contains nicotine. There are actually one or two that have been certified that have 0 milligrams of nicotine, but nicotine has been the stumbling block. And as a matter of fact, we're working with someone who we believe is going to be the first ones out of the chute with truly USDA.
Is there a natural, for example, guarana, I believe, or however you say that, the Brazilian thing provides natural doses of caffeine, which is why they use it and infuse it into, so they can say it's still natural, but it's got caffeine in it. Is there no natural source of nicotine other than tobacco?
Do you like tomatoes?
Yeah.
Tomatoes have nicotine.
Ooh, no wonder I'm addicted to them.
So do peppers, and so do several other bits of produce. But here's the challenge. Nicotine byproduct typically of tobacco leaf.
Yes.
And so you can actually grow organic tobacco, which means no pesticides, no anything. Everything from the very beginning, from the seed through everything you put on it, has to be certified organic. But the challenge has been getting the nicotine out of it. And typically what happens is they have to use some type of chemicals or some type of detergent, so to speak, to actually dilute the nicotine out of it.
Some agent that takes it out of that, and that's what kills the categorization.
But there's several people that are working on some distilleries that are actually able to do it without having to use it.
And why would you want to do that? Is it just a marketing gimmick to say it's organic, or is it somehow different?
Both. It's a marketing gimmick for sure. It's a competitive positioning that's very, very hard to undermine. But more importantly, the industry has been undermined by people who are making their shit at home. People talk about,
Did he say shit?
Yeah, he did.
All right.
They've been making this in their home, in their bathtubs, in their sinks. And I got an email from someone a couple days ago, and she said, can you help me sell my liquid? And I said, is it made in a clean room? She says, well, I do it in my bedroom.
I clean my room.
No, this is what she said, and this is almost a quote. I use gloves, and I disinfect everything when I'm done.
Oh.
And so that's what she considers a clean room.
Yeah.
So I metaphorically rose my eyes in my head and rolled my eyes, and I thought, this is the level of ignorance of people out there who think that they can actually create a business by creating liquids at home. And this is the bad stuff that has given the industry a bad name.
Yeah,
so
go Google clean rooms, and you see what really goes into a clean room in a manufacturing process.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, when I went to the last show, there's a company that actually provides portable clean rooms, so you don't have to spend, the $50,000 to $100,000. It's actually like a little trailer that has all the filters and all the ducting and all the lines in it and everything, and you basically plug it in, and it's a self-contained unit, and it has to be certified and it has to be checked and so forth and so on. But the truth is that the whole idea of creating a line of liquids from home, I would encourage anyone to not do it. I had a conversation just earlier today from someone who was interested in selling juice at a swap meet or at a flea market.
Swap meet. So I'm going to go and cook this up in my kitchen and sell it at the swap meet.
Yeah, it's a very slippery slope, and it's not even remotely stable whatsoever. So again, there's enough high quality name brand companies out there that just stick with someone who is good. All right, moving right along. I always mention Bonnie Herzog with Wells Fargo Financial. She is certainly an icon in the industry, and she's one of my favorite people, and I've had the pleasure of meeting with her and getting my picture taken and having a couple of conversations. But she's one of the few, I'm going to call professionals and specialists in the industry. She follows the C space, which is the convenience stores and tobacco and alcohol and soft drinks and all those various things. But here's what she's saying. The two game changers that have come into the landscape in the last few months is Views, which is made by R.J. Reynolds Vapor, which we're going to talk to in just a moment, and Mark 10, which is made by Altria. They have been game changers because both of these products were designed from the ground up as e-cigarettes by these companies. They weren't bought by anyone. They actually were generated from the bottom line. And so what's happening is that we are going to see, especially in the fourth quarter, a resurgence of e-cigarette growth because people are going to want to try these new products. Whether it sticks or not is part of the question, and we don't know the answer to that yet. But the bottom line is that the e-cigarette space is a little bit volatile. The vaping space still continues to grow. Latest numbers, we're hitting $3 billion. That's B. We're hitting $3 billion, which when I started in my industry about 18 months ago, we were somewhere between 1.5 and 1.8. So we've pretty much doubled in size in about the last year.
A year and a half or a year. Wow.
And you're going to see exponential growth, Paul. My projections are in 18 to 24 months, you're going to see this as being somewhere between a $4 and $6 billion industry. And again, I'm very blessed to be part of it and hopefully being instrumental in part of your success as you get into the vaping
double
industry.
For a while? Is it 4 and then 8 and 16 and who knows, huh?
It's really hard to say whether this is going to remain exponential because a lot of people are concerned about the FDA, and the truth is that they're pretty much a non-entity for the time being. There's nothing going to happen this year and probably nothing going to happen next year. But if you're smart, if you're really smart, which I suggest that you do, and if you listen to the show, hopefully you're smarter than not, you want to prepare for the worst-case scenario, which means that if you're going to develop your e-line of liquids, do it with the FDA watchdogs in mind. If you're going to open up a store, do it with all the different caveats in mind so that you can protect yourself if and when something happens.
Any chance that this ever becomes a political football?
It is a political football.
And some crusader? Well, I'm thinking that some, Carrie Nation comes along here and suddenly winds people up and says, we've got to ban this. We got trouble, my friends, right here in River City.
There's a lot of those people already in place. As a matter of fact, the city of Santa Monica, and for those of you who aren't in California, the city of Santa Monica is a coastal town. Mm-hmm. It has a boardwalk, and it has this area that they call 3rd Street Promenade, which is it's all
beautiful.
Outside.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it's a really cool area. It's very yuppie-like. It's got a lot of really cool bars and clubs and clothing stores. But
the street's closed off, so you walk from one to the other.
Exactly. It's for It's for pedestrians only. But the city of Santa Monica, in their glory, has basically said you cannot vape. So that means you can't go out on the pier in the open air and vape, or you can't use an electronic cigarette, which I actually commented when I saw that because, vaping, of course, generates some plumes of smoke, but for the most part, people can be smoking an e-cig and you'd never even know. You might think it's a cigarette except for there's no smoke or very little smoke coming out of it. So is it a political football? It's a huge political football. As a matter of fact, I'm going to be sharing with you in the months to come the campaign that I'm putting together because I'm actually putting together a nationwide Freedom to Vape campaign, and we're going to be kicking this off at the end of Q1. In 2015, there's just some amazing, amazing things that are going to be unfolding, including a gentleman that I formed a relationship with that is putting together 6 B2B workshops next year in 6 different cities, and it's all going to be based on education. It's all going to be based on empowering you. So, again, we'll announce that, but the first one is going to be in Miami at the end of January.
And I'm going to give you a quick thought, which I'm sure you can't answer in a few quick seconds, but is there ever an intersection, or is there an ally, perhaps, in the growing legalization of marijuana movement?
I'm going to defer that question for another couple of shows.
Okay.
Because, believe it or not, I've been offered an opportunity to get involved with someone in that arena, and we're in discussion as we speak about basically being a front runner for that.
Interesting. Well, and I'm thinking, okay, you mentioned Santa Monica, and people outside there wouldn't know. It's an extremely liberal community.
Very liberal.
In fact, people call it the Republic of Santa Monica because it's so, out there, and it's very much, hippies and very liberal group of people. Yeah. I love it. Yeah. It's probably more like me, truthfully. And for them to be restrictive shocks me, because that's not necessarily who those people are. That isn't their first impulse, is to restrict free expression and free speech and things like that. And so I'm wondering, if there is a political, which side of the aisle does this come from? Is it a conservative backlash? Maybe not. Maybe it's a libertarian expression of, against the nanny state. Do what you want. The heck with it. Or is it
a lot simpler than that?
Or is it the nanny state and a liberal version of it trying to say, well, soft drinks are bad, so let's ban those?
All right. So here's really what it boils down to: them protecting themselves, them being the city, from perceived liability.
Oh.
That's really all there is to it.
It's a CYA.
It's a CYA. They're basically covering their ass, which means that when they see big city after big city ban vaping, they all think that this is the bandwagon that they need to get on. And unfortunately, they're following a very bad example. So they think that if they allow their citizens, or even the people who aren't their citizens, to vape in public, and God forbid somewhere down the line someone discovers that there's something bad in e-cigs or bad in vaping,
right. Or they blow up,
or something. They're basically trying to protect themselves. It's a ludicrous position. It's an untenable position, and the problem is that one of the worst offenders is unfortunately the business that you and I are in, and that's the media.
Yeah.
Media loves to create controversy, and in the last show, I specifically mentioned a headline where the headline proclaimed something like, boy's leg is blown off by exploding battery.
So I mentioned the exploding cigarette. It never occurred to me that, but battery powder, everything is a chance to blow up. Well,
hell, look at the Teslas, look at the Priuses, and look at all the electronic
fires.
Fires. All right, so we're getting off on a tangent here, but I want to get back online as we finish out segment number 1. So for those of you that remember, I've been doing a giveaway for October, November, December, and it's for 1 month. That's 4 weeks' worth of free consulting with me with VapeMentors. And so all you have to do is, if you are in the vape space, or if you want to get into the vape space, just send me an email, norm@VapeMentors.com, and tell me about the business you have that you want to repair or get online, or tell me what you want to create. And I'm going to basically give you 4 weeks' worth of consulting, hour-long consulting, during that entire month. So we already had a winner for the month of October.
Yay!
Yes, Eric, and I mentioned him last time. For the month of November, we're halfway through right now. I've got a fairly significant pile to read through, and a couple of them that are really outstanding, and a couple of them that they
there
just don't have.
Must be some wild ones in there.
There's some wild ones. There's some wild ones. Yeah. So again, if you are interested in participating in our contest, just go to Vape News Radio, or send an email to norm@VapeMentors.com and tell me what you want and tell me why you want it, and put in the subject line, "Pick me." That's the line. That's the thing. You got to say "pick me" in the subject line, and that way I'll know.
How cool.
I'm exhausted.
You should be. You're doing so much. You're giving stuff away. You're recovering the industry. You're flying around doing all these things. Wow.
We covered a lot of ground. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, we're running to the end of segment number 1 of show number 13. This is Vape News Radio, the voice of vaping. My name is Norm Bauer. Do not go away. We're going to be back in just one moment in an interview that truly you have to hear, because you know what? It's with RJ Reynolds Vapor.
Doesn't get any bigger than that, folks.
They're up there for sure. So don't go away. Thank you for coming back. We'll talk to you in a few minutes.
Hey, you found it. You're tuned into the one and only show that focuses on the vaping industry, the voice of the vaping industry, Vape News Radio, with your host, the Vape News mentor himself, Norm Bauer.